What you said earlier was that poor people are more likely to make poor choices. That's why they're more
No.
likely to be diabetic.
No.
Why are poor
Must
people
move
more
forward.
likely to be diabetic?
Because they make poor choices.
This one. First Amender, the video is a debate about whether Snap needs a significant reform, not a casual conversation. Rob is right. You admitted he won the debate. Read the title of the video.
Yeah, I mean, if you'll notice, I didn't argue for significant reform. I mean, would I make some minor changes to it? Yes, but you're literally talking about one of the most successful programs in American history, and it does exactly work as intended, despite whether or not Rob Noer wants to admit that or not.
It doesn't. It has significant fraud that we didn't get into much in the debate. In
Less
addition
than
to
1%.
that, that's not true. 11%, I believe, was the number I had.
Wrong.
That was payments in error, overpayments, etc. Then we, in addition to that, had 1
As well as
to 2%
underpayments, right?
Yeah.
Did
The
you count for
underpayments,
underpayments?
yes. So the way it works is the underpayments. If you take the net between the overpayments and the
And also
underpayments,
overpayments.
why,
and
why do you
underpayments
insist
are
on?
fraud.
Why do you insist?
I do just you just asked him, and I'm curious because we'll give you a chance for Amender to talk as well. But I am curious because the fraud idea was one. I'm curious. What else were you going to say, Rob?
Yeah, so there's 1 to 2% of direct fraud. Now, that doesn't include unreported fraud, which we can see individuals all the time that aren't caught because they don't take it seriously. There's only 300 charges of actually selling their food stamps. All of that would be fraud, and we all know that happens quite a lot. But when it comes to overpayments versus underpayments, the number is around 9 to 10% of overpayments minus underpayments, and it's still like 9 to 10% overpayments that are issued out.
First Amender, do you have thoughts?
Overpayments and underpayments aren't fraud. Those are just errors, which are corrected on a constant basis. They're constantly pushed back against. And there are entire sections of SNAP that specifically deal in that. If you want to increase that, I'm not necessarily against ensuring that there's accurate payments provided throughout SNAP benefits, but specifically fraud, what you're asking for, where they're, say, taking the SNAP and then they're selling it for drug money, that's around 1 to 2%.
And again, that's not the only fraud. There's also fraud that occurs through the places that are accepting the benefits in the first place. And I believe it was something like 8% of businesses that accept SNAP have been found to have engaged in forms of trafficking fraud. But nonetheless, the point that you specifically asked me, whether you call it fraud or just error, the error is not being corrected every year. And that's a significant amount of money that's being lost. Even the GAO admits this, billions of dollars a year.
Just really quick, because for the plebs like me, when you say trafficking fraud by, let's say, the big stores that are accepting these forms of payment, what's trafficking fraud mean in this case?
So what happens is they allow them to spend things that they know that they shouldn't be spending them on in efforts for cash to be put through. And so, like, there's a big list of it. Let's see. I have this all written down here. Retailer trafficking in the data indicates an increase of rate of retailer trafficking in recent years. It reported in March 2011, approximately $330 million in SNAP benefits were trafficked annually from 2006 to 2018, and approximately 8.2% of all authorized stores were engaged in trafficking. So this is intentionally allowing the money to be spent on things that they know that it's not the intended purpose so that the store could make money. And that's roughly in 2000. Now, it's hard to find data recent, but I would estimate that it probably has gotten worse, but 8.2% of all authorized stores have engaged in some form of this.
I see. And First Amendment, my guess you disagree. I don't want to spend too much time, but I do want to give you a chance to respond if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, we already have systems that address that. If you're talking about like assisting those systems that already exist, I don't consider that a significant change. That's like, okay, that's just more business as usual, except, you're looking to increase the funding to ensure that there's less overpayments and underpayments.
It's not doing a good job if it's at like around 10%
yeah, because
of overpayments.
When people like you defund it, it doesn't do a good job. That's
so
how that works.
So then you would say there needs to be a significant reform and funding more of it?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
This one from Dog meat.
Whatever the significant, I suppose. You got me
No,
there.
I
You did it.
literally, part of my
You
opening
did it. You
sta-
got me on the definition
I-
game. You won the
part
debate.
of my opening statement was that we need to have like a Doge, an increase in funding for accountability offices to make sure. In fact, I specifically talked about, which granted, I can't fault you for not addressing it because we didn't get in there. States themselves purposely allow people to fraudulently skirt the work requirements. And then later, when they're trying to make up so they don't get punished by the federal government for errors or fraud, they just say, oh yeah, these are good. The work requirements were all good.
The work requirements doesn't really address the modern situation regarding gig economy and how this actually
That's
penalizes
irresponsive.
people that are genuinely trying to
Irresponsive to what I
benefit.
said.
But they're no,
It doesn't respond.
It's
Okay, explain how the
because
gig economy.
it doesn't address the situation economically. Currently, we have the middle class being eroded away, where the rich are getting richer and the poor are remaining poor. And there's an X amount of the middle class that are getting into the poor. By removing funding from SNAP, this only exacerbates the conditions of the poor.
Explain to me how that is
response.
in any way responsive to me saying that states are in purposely allowing people to skirt work environments in order to clean up their books for the federal government to.
Because
How
it
does
doesn't
Uber
take
have
into
to?
account the modern gig economy.
That's not true. Nothing in any of
Yes,
the
it
evidence
is.
suggests. Okay, so explain to me how them intentionally allowing people to skirt the work economy is somehow not a problem because someone drives for Uber.
I don't even know what you're asking at this point.
I'm saying
It
that the
doesn't even make sense.
state governments are intentionally defrauding the federal government by intentionally allowing people to lie about work requirements. And your response,
I'm not aware if
your
the state government
your
is doing that,
response,
or even if
your
they're doing so
response to that
legally. But
accusation
defunding it
was,
is not a
your
is not a
response
fraud.
to that
I do want to.
your response to that accusation was, but the gig economy. And I'm saying those don't have anything to
it's
do with
true
each
that
other.
the gig economy doesn't actually
It
address.
doesn't have anything to do with it.
It doesn't address what's going on regarding people's poor socioeconomic conditions.
Nor does
wanna
it
move to the next
address
one.
my
And you're
claim.
wanting to defund it further.
We do have to move on. This one from
Classic
Basil
Republican tactics where they go and they say,
This
Non
one from
sector.
Dog Meat says, both. Is being obese considered fraud to you? How do you need food if you're packing 6 months of 6 months worth in fat? On
I
your
don't know.
body?
Ask him. I have no experience in this.
What's your BMI?
My BMI,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's pretty low.
It's pretty low. You considered
it's like
not
normal.
overweight to any degree whatsoever.
That's correct. Look,
Don't no,
Oh, wow.
please stop. Okay.
Look at that.
This is
Yeah, look at
okay.
that.
This has gone too
Wow.
far. Stop.
Oftentimes people
Alright.
could be
I'm gonna turn your
technically
camera off.
oftentimes people could be technically overweight that look healthy. They could still be above the BMI.
I'm not
The
overweight.
point is, like your cheap jabs aside, which mean nothing to me. I would worry less about my physical health and
You should
more
answer the
about
question though.
I am
instead
answering
of
the
be
question.
focused on me.
I am answering the question, and I'm answering your ad hom attacks that you've made the entire time. Instead of focus on my health, perhaps you should focus on your ability to debate, as you do such a poor job of it. You were lamenting
I gave
before we.
multiple metrics.
Please,
You
I'll
ignored
finish
all of
my
them.
point.
You just say I
please,
don't believe it.
please.
and move
Hold on,
forward.
one sec.
Please,
I
as
just-
you were now that you want to make ad hom attacks the whole time, you were lamenting before you came on that you can't afford to go to DebateCon because your channel is so low watched. And I understand from your performance today why so few people tune into you. So I totally understand that. Perhaps before you issue sort of proclamations and jokes about other people, you should focus on your own life and the shortcomings that you have within it.
I
Nonetheless,
do.
I
I do
would
just
not
fine,
consider
and,
being overweight
No,
to be a fraud. I would not
I
consider
don't
that.
tell the poor to not drink sodas when you yourself probably drink sodas. So.
I do not tell the
FYI.
poor not to drink sodas. I told the poor that I shouldn't have to pay for them to drink sodas. The fact that you're
got it.
incapable of understanding that shows why so many people
Yeah, but
choose
it
to
doesn't
not watch your
actually have
show.
any efficacy. That's
We
the
must go to
problem.
the
You
next
What
need
are
to
you
address
talking
that.
about? No wonder
Okay.
people don't
Doesn't
watch
have
Must
any
go to the next
efficacy.
one.
People do make poor decisions
Gentlemen.
if they have an underlying desire of making poor
the
decisions.
Then
next
they don't
one.
need our money.
You know,
This one
kind of like
from
it's ridiculous.
Basil Problem says, Rob, how much time? Okay, this is the guy that you got to be careful. He says, how much time do you spend training in zone 2? It's like the cardio zone 2, I think he means.
Mm.
This one, if you want to respond, you can. You don't have to. This is a nasty guy. He's going to start talking about your body soon. He does that to all our guests.
Well,
He says, if
first
you had been a-
amender, I've been hyper focused on my body. Perhaps
says-
perhaps some wishful thinking on you guys' part.
He says, if you had been elected to Congress in 2019, would you have voted to release the Epstein files, Rob?
Yes.
This one from Basil says, Rob, please tell us what health habits you are following to mitigate your risk of adult onset diabetes.
I am regularly exercising. I've started to eat, trying to take carbohydrates out of my diet, but I don't do the best job. What does any of this have to do? There's a fundamental misunderstanding. Well, it's not a misunderstanding. It's intentional obtuseness from First Amender and the people that are watching. No one's saying that people should be forced to make healthy decisions. We are saying that the government should not take your tax dollars to buy unhealthy product amenities for people. Simple concept. It's difficult.
As I say, not as I do. Am I right?
No. Are you okay? If I was doing as I say, not as I do, I'd say First Amendment. Send me money for soda. Send me money for soda.
Do you want donos?
Yeah, go over to my chat and give me a super chat.
Big League Drew says Diet Coke is better than Coke. Changed my mind. Airborne Animal says notice that First Amender focused only on children and not adults on food stamps. Could it be that he is cherry picking the data? I think so. First Amender, like all leftists, cannot control himself.
Hold on, I'm getting him some money for soda.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I'm sure the less than, 20, 30 people that watch you regularly? How much, by the way, how much you making in donos there with your job? What was your job? System analysis. That's your job?
I'm a
systems administrator. Excellent.
Emperor Fat Ass Dog says Trump has lifted over 600,000 Americans off food stamps and 1.9 million more Americans are employed today than when he took office. Sounds like MAGA isn't such a bad thing, First Amender.
Wait, I'm sorry, repeat that. I was focused on donating to Rob Noer.
They said, first offender, Trump has lifted over 600,000. For the record, he doesn't have a record, any illegal stuff that we know of. He says, Trump has lifted over 600,000 Americans off food stamps, and 1.9 million more Americans are employed today than when he took office. Sounds like MAGA isn't such a bad thing.
I'm sorry, one more time. I'm just laughing really hard because everybody is responding to the donation I just gave in his chat. Sorry.
This one from Chef Dylan says, first offender, if there is, disclaimer, he's not known for having offended anybody. Okay. If there is a net boon for the economy from SNAP, why isn't anyone pushing for simply printing 1 trillion and putting it into SNAP? We'd be able to eliminate federal debt.
Because of inflation. Inflation is bad. We don't want too much inflation.
Think of how much the GDP would increase.
The GDP does not increase by having that much inflation.
Oh, so it would increase. Wait. Your argument.
When you have too much inflation,
I'm sorry. Your argument. No, wait. Your argument is inflation doesn't increase GDP. That's exactly opposite. Actually, inflation does increase GDP.
So inflation it depends. It depends on the level of inflation. That's a complex question, but
it's not that complex. It's not. If we printed $1 trillion more dollars and handed it out, GDP would go up by $1 trillion.
It can also reduce trade in the fact that people are less secure in their money being secure in that, and so it can cause a deflationary spiral. There's a whole bunch of different reasons why this doesn't necessarily work out. But we know SNAP is a net benefit economically speaking, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, if you really don't like GDP, none of that matters. That's fine. You can look at the MVPF, which is a good empirical measure that doesn't need to use GDP. It's the same. Pick your measurement. I mean, it's just empirically, no matter what metric you use, SNAP benefits is a net.
So I'll respond to this. So what you can see is he acknowledges here that it's not just a matter of government spending money means GDP goes up, which is good. He goes back to this metric that we dealt with the whole time. All this metric says is when children are healthy, they're less likely to use other government programs when they get older. He laughably says that it's $1 in.
MVPF
that is exactly what it said. You went through the study. It said that the people that were on these programs as children are less likely to use programs from the government when they get older. The reason for that will be because they're more nutrition that they got, which means that they would be less likely to be on other government programs when they get older. Laughably, he tries to make the claim for $1 put in is $56 taken out. Now he shows you right here while that can't be true, because if that was true, then if we gave everyone food stamps, then we would get 56 times the amount that would be put out, which is laughable. This is clearly there is no reason. There is no reason. I'll finish real quick. I'll finish.
or not Rob, First Amender. Let's let Rob finish.
There is no reason why the significant reforms that I'm suggesting, cutting out sugary beverages, other reforms I suggested, getting able-bodied adults off. Notice I never said anything about children, which is what his metric's talking about. And he was unable to argue any of that. He just says, no, somehow magically taking tax dollars to pay for sodas means that people are doing immensely better economically. It's laughable.
Lord Farquaad says, legalize Coke. We sell bricks of it. GDP goes boom. We're better off for it, right?
People would have more energy.
Yeah, you don't have to use GDP. Once again, you can use the MVPF as well. It's the same thing. I mean, it is a net boon to the economy. People do better off when people are fed as opposed to not fed. It doesn't require a brainiac to figure that one out. I mean, I don't know. Right wingers don't like numbers. Like anytime you bring up any number, they're like, I don't believe that number. That number is bullshit. I'm going to keep believing whatever it is I want to believe in, and fuck all measured statistics whatsoever. It's biased. PBS, it's biased. The World Economic Forum, it's biased. GDP is biased. You know, it's all biased. The math is biased. It's all biased. And really, we should just, I don't know, just take away SNAP from poor people, I guess, because I don't know, poor people don't deserve it.
I guess when ad homs and intentional misunderstanding don't work, straw man will have to suffice. I also was presenting numbers that were contradicting the exact numbers he had, and they were from better sources like the USDA. For example, his
You didn't
PBS
actually
source.
provide any sources.
Please let me finish.
Throughout the entire debate.
For example,
First Amender, we gotta go.
just because I didn't screen share when I tell you the source and you don't dispute it, such as the USDA that I read directly from, when your PBS.
Rob
First Amender.
GPT.
All right, I'm going to mute you because you just keep talking while Rob is trying to get through a sentence.
Again, he says Rob GPT. I read directly from the USDA. His source of PBS said that there was no evidence whatsoever that people that aren't on SNAP are more likely to drink soda or purchase soda than people that are. I read directly from the USDA showing that that's not true. I also talked specifically about his data was being misrepresented by him. In addition, he didn't know what the metrics behind his own studies were, as evidenced by the time that he was trying to go through it desperately and come up with some reason to rationalize what he was saying. His own metric that he's talking about that's not the GDP number is talking specifically only about children that have access to food stamps. And even here, he belies what he's saying. He says, oh, when people have access to food, then, oh, yeah, it just makes sense. And he doesn't believe any of the data. Now, what I'm saying is the way you're interpreting that data is incorrect. For example, we all agree, based on the other numbers you're saying, if they're true, that they do have access to food. Because if we stopped using food stamps to purchase soda for them, they literally would purchase soda, implying that they're not starving to death, which means that if it's merely a metric that your numbers are saying that people that aren't starving to death are doing better, they already have the money according to you.
Need pithy responses. This one from Chef Dylan. The government cannot tell a man, unless First Amender, if you wanted a quick pithy response to that, I can give you one because I don't want to.
I mean, he's just repeating the same thing. I've responded multiple times. Once again, he's not acknowledging that his proposal has shown to not work.
This one, Chef Dylan says the government cannot tell a man who pays for his meal what he can eat. The government can tell the taxpayers, parasites, what they can eat. Namely, they're saying these folks on SNAP are, in their words, a parasite off of the taxpayer. So in that case, it is fair for the government to tell them, like, hey, you can't have the sugar soda.
They're not a parasite. You're just luckier than them.
Your argument is that the only thing that makes someone have more money than someone that's poor is luck?
Yeah, the number one determinant of what causes someone to be wealthier as opposed to poorer is their zip code.
Okay,
It's
but
really
that
actually
seems
quite sad, really.
that seems to belie arguments you were making earlier.
Also,
For example,
considering that the middle class has been eroded away, that's another problem.
you said
wanna go
poor.
too
You said
far.
earlier that
The
poor
number
people
one
are.
determinant of what determines
Please,
your
why do you
success
keep
in life
repeating
is zip
yourself?
code.
You said earlier that poor people are more likely to make worse choices. So they're more likely to, when they're even broke, go out
People
and buy
make poor
things like
choices,
soda.
rich or poor.
Hold on.
You
It's
said
just
they
you
were
have-
more likely.
First,
It's
okay,
just that poor people,
you
when they make poor
when there's,
choices,
like,
it's worse for them.
mid-sentence, okay. We need to, like, when someone's talking, we got to, like, let them finish sentence.
It's fine. I said what I needed.
I mean, he's like misrepresenting what I said.
I'm not
but okay.
What you said earlier was that poor people are more likely to make poor choices. That's why they're more
No.
likely to be diabetic.
No,
Why
We
are poor
must
people
move
more
forward.
likely to be diabetic?
I think
because they make poor choices.
this one from
Exactly.
we'll go. I do want to go to questions
It
where
doesn't mean they're more likely
I do want
to
to go to
make poor
questions where we-
choices. Jesus Christ.
you want to go to
freaking
questions where we
idiots.
have
James, can I
Just-
real quick? I think this is a very important. Just 30 seconds, please. If your
Okay.
argument is poor people are more likely,
He's like exhausted. Look at him.
no,
let's
I'm
give him a
flabbergasted by your stupidity. If your argument is poor people are more likely to be diabetic because they make poor choices, why would that matter if non-poor people are making the exact same amount of poor choices?
Rich people make poor choices too.
Then why aren't they equally likely to be diabetic if the reason that poor people are more
Because they
diabetic
have
is poor
likely
choices?
better health care.
So
we must go to the next one.